Internet friends, I'm Ryan. This is Demos in the Dark. Sit back, relax. We're going to talk about some lo-fi music. Now, this is a thing that I come across my desk like a lot. I mean, like it's in mattress commercials. If you listen to the bumper music on NPR, it's this sound. It's this really old, distorted, yet beautiful sound. And of course, the guitar community has responded. We've had tons and tons and tons of lo-fi pedals. And I wanted to kind of go back and share with you a couple that I use on a very regular basis. And there are a trio of pedals from Caroline. So we have the Somersault, the Kilobyte, and the Meteore. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a mix, create a track with them, and then come on back here and I will show you how I got all of those sounds. Thanks for sticking around. If you, like me, are a nerd who spends way too much time in your dark studio rather than being outside with normal people, please don't be a stranger. Like, subscribe, comment below. I'm always interested in what y'all have to think about this stuff here. All right, so let's pick this track apart. First thing we're going to talk about is the bass. And the reality is if you want something to sound old and kind of shitty, it's helpful to have some old gear. And the bass that I used on that was an old 70s Fender Music Master bass. I am running this into a Neve DI, into a Manly Force, and then into a DBX 160A. I have some EQ on the back end, and that comes from the Universal Audio Hitsville EQ collection. But it has just a really, really great dead muted sound, especially if you're muting with your hand. And I did actually use the Caroline Kilobyte on the intro kind of part of that. I wanted a little bit of slapback. Now, I prefer that delay, that slapback, to come before the DI, before the preamp. I like having it right out front because then the preamp can catch some of the nuances of it and really exploit it. Now, for the Rhodes, I used the same setting throughout the whole track, or the same settings on all of these pedals. And really, really cool sound. I really just wanted to, you kind of want to wash it out, which is what I did. So, we dialed in some vibrato there. We dialed in a delay here. And then I want you to hear this, because this is actually kind of important. I put on the Meteor reverb too. And I remember coming up in a time where reverbs and delays and stuff like that need to be crisp and clean, but not for lo-fi music. So here, check this out. You can hear that thing hissing. And it's great because it sounds like an old tape machine. So here is what that ultimately ends up sounding like. Okay, now on to some guitars. So I used 2 guitars on that track. The first one here is a Bunting Guitars Melody Queen. And that first part where it comes in is this kind of like A minor 9 thing. And it sounds like... Lo-fi music borrows pretty heavily from the 80s, and so I wanted to grab a chorus on there, so I used a somersault to dial in what I think is a pretty standard sounding chorus, although I darkened it up with this switch here, which maybe isn't so standard. Sounds like this. That sounds great. And then, of course, we're going to add some delay there. And one thing I want to note is right here, we have this control, this modulation control. And for that bass part that I did before, I had that thing all the way flat. But for this, I cranked it all the way up. And now we're starting to get an idea of what this is going to sound like. The only thing that we need after that is some reverb to further wash out this sound. And because I ran a dark chorus, I decided to go with a bright sounding reverb on there. And then, going back where, like, if you want something to sound old and kind of shitty, it is helpful to have some kind of old and shitty gear. So I have this old Harmony guitar that I used for the rest of it. I'm still plugged into the Silktone amp. And the first guitar part that we hear with this guitar goes like... I actually kept the chorus exactly the same. And then for the Kilobyte, I dialed in something really short. So we got a chorus, a kind of a slap back style delay there going. And so for the reverb, I really kicked it up a notch. What's cool about that is how the reverb, which is big and washy, takes the short slapback. Very, very cool. All right, so for that very last guitar part, it was something like... We're going firmly vibrato here, so I have moved to a square wave on there and made some other changes, and it sounds like this. I don't know, maybe it's more tremolo. It's one of those things. And then what I dialed in on the Kilobyte, since this is just kind of like single note stuff, I wanted it to linger. So I got this on real nice and long. The modulation is completely out because we got plenty of it coming from there. And then for the first time on the track, I am using some very dark reverb from the Meteore. You know, like that is, you can really get a lot of mileage out of these three effects. And, you know, I feel like Caroline really, like, just dove into that whole lo-fi thing because they're nasty sounding and beautiful sounding and old sounding. And they're just cool. They're really cool pedals. And like I said, it's something that I have used a lot, trying to achieve that sound. Many times. So thanks, Caroline, for making cool stuff. And thank you for the privilege of your time.